In life, there are good ideas and there are bad ideas. When we came up with the idea one solemn day to make a top 10 bunnies in cartoons, I didn't think we'd actually be at this point making the video. If you think just based on the concept alone, that sounds like, what? No, you can't do that. There's not enough there. But surprisingly, there's way more than 10. I mean, if you think about it, really. Bunnies are an iconic animal, and they have been in animation a lot more than you think. A lot more than I thought when I sat down and started writing this. And a lot of bunnies are pretty WTF if you think about it. Also, Easter is just a hard holiday to make content for. What is this holiday? There's peeps, there's eggs, that's really about it. Did you want us to get into the religious aspect? So with all of these different parts and pieces perfectly fitting together, I think it's time for Retro Nemo here on the Roundtable to count down the top 10 WTF bunnies in animation. And this is in order, you bet, because this list is important. We need to know as a society the top 10 bunnies, okay? And I have yet to see another list like this. So you can't tell me I'm wrong, comment section. Except you can and you will, and we both know that. We have a very strange relationship, but I love you. So without further ado, let's start talking rabbits. Boingo Hoodwinked. What was Hoodwinked, man? It's like that movie that we all remember, but like none of us really want to. It came out in like the peak Shrek era, so everybody wanted to make fun of fairy tales. It was like the hot thing. And that's exactly what this was. A weirdly grounded parody of fairy tale movies. Specifically, the story of Little Red Riding Hood, though they take from other lore and other characters to give us one of the weirdest animated movies I've ever seen. Also, they made a sequel, and we're not gonna talk about it. So Boingo's a crazy bunny in general, just because he's in Hoodwinked, and Hoodwinked is crazy, but he's also a twist character. He's a lovable bunny that always wants to help out and is hopping around, and then in the very end, spoiler alert, he turns out to be the villain of the story. His evil plan is to build convenience stores and sell like junk food products, along with clearing forest. He's not really evil. He's just kind of a capitalist, but he does have henchmen, which makes him evil. I don't know, the whole cute bunny turned evil thing is just crazy to me. It's just so goofy and stupid, like I love it. Also, he gets this awful musical number, which I hate and love, with a duality you cannot imagine. And he's the one that says you've been hoodwinked. So yeah, he's the best. In the end, he's ultimately thwarted, I mean, obviously, but I wonder what would happen if he was just allowed to open convenience stores. I wonder if the writers had a vendetta with 7-Eleven or something. It's just so oddly specific. If anything, maybe he would have just created a bunch of jobs. I mean, is it really that bad what he was doing? Maybe Boingo's the real hero. Oh, nah, wait, I forgot. He had henchmen. He's a bad guy.
And Keith, darn it, change your name, please. That's not scary.
Lola Bunny. Yeah, you all saw the thumbnail, you dirty, dirty people. Space Jam is just an iconic movie, man. I just want to wear all the Space Jam t-shirts and remember the old good old 90s. But looking back, man, Lola was weird. This is some borderline furry stuff. I mean, Lola was just a female rabbit, but she was also the sex appeal of the movie, undeniably. And yes, Bugs Bunny is a rabbit, which makes it okay, I guess. But if you watch closely, there's plenty of humans that are into Lola just as much as Bugs is. It's just weird to see a sexy human bunny rabbit who's good at basketball. Actually better at basketball than most of her characters. But I just love how blatantly oblivious LeBron James is to just her sexual appeal. Like there's a clip where she walks in and it's supposed to be all hot and sexy and all he's got to say is,
"The girl's got some skills."
That just shows how dedicated LeBron James is to the sport, man. He has his eye on the prize at all time. He's not getting distracted by any sexy bunnies. There's no doubt that this created a couple of furries just from watching this scene, so you can sit with that fact. I love her incarnation in the Looney Tunes show though. There she plays the quirky on-again off-again girlfriend of Bugs, who's actually kind of insane and over-talkative, but she's just really funny and a great character that really fits in with the show. And that's the difference between her here and her in Space Jam. She's not meant to be like the sex appeal or like the hot girl. She's just a character in the show. I think if humanity finally fell and all that was left was a picture of Lola Bunny, aliens finding our planet would probably assume that she was our queen and our leader, and that we probably spent hours a day worshiping her. And with some people, they're kind of right. But at the end of the day, I can't knock anything that's a part of Space Jam. And if you bought this Etsy t-shirt of Bugs Bunny spanking Lola Bunny, you've hopefully gotten the therapy that you've needed. That's all I gotta say.
Don't ever call me doll.
Buster Baxter. Honestly, Buster, bro. This dude is so lame. Buster's so annoying. He's got a dumb dad who has to send him letters from around the world because he doesn't love him enough. He's always trying to make jokes even though they're not funny. You're not funny, Buster. You're not funny at all. Oh, you think you're so cool just because Art Garfunkel did an episode with you. Well, guess what? We all like Simon better. They literally kicked this boy off the show just so we could have a spin-off where he sent postcards? How lame is that?
Aw, pretty cards.
Literally had to come back to the show because it was so bad. How long long has this guy been in 3rd grade? Way too long! How many seasons of Arthur have there been? This show's been going on for years. When you gonna graduate, Buster? When you gonna graduate, buddy? Still waiting on that diploma, you idiot? What is he wearing? Goddamn cyan polo? Does your mom still dress you? Someone needs to tell this kid that it's not the alien's fault that he doesn't have a girlfriend. According to the wiki, he has trouble keeping secrets. I'm surprised he's not a rat. He doesn't even wash his hands, bro. Roger Rabbit. Roger Rabbit is a Bugs Bunny type cartoon character framed for murder. And if that's not WTF for you, he also wears overalls. That's right, he is the titular character of the incredibly popular and cinematic masterpiece Who Framed Roger Rabbit, in which cartoons coexist with the real world. It's actually a super interesting world lore-wise. He ends up hiring a private eye whose brother was killed by a tune, which gives him a gritty backstory. It's just all crazy. Roger Rabbit is the perfect amalgamation of just all of the cartoon characters. They got like the Bugs Bunny type, the Mickey Mouse type. He's just meant to represent all of them, and he does a really good job. Just the idea of a Bugs Bunny type character being pinned for murder in like a real world situation is crazy, and I think that's why so many people love the movie. Also, he has a gold digging wife who I thought was a rabbit for the longest time because I named her Jessica Rabbit and I didn't understand how surnames worked. He seems like hilariously oblivious to how much of a gold digger she is, but I think they are happy by the end, aren't they? I don't know. In the book version, he actually killed somebody, which is pretty crazy. I don't know how they didn't go down that route. I thought that would have been way more fun for the family. If all of that wasn't weird enough for you, his actor Charles Fisher was actually known to dress as a bunny during the filming of the movie. Picture a grown man dressed as a bunny, walking around a movie set.
On the set, the first day on the set, when I walked on my rabbit suit, everyone started laughing, because it's pretty silly. So I knew it was the right thing, plus it's good press. So I knew it was the right move.
3 years of acting school, and I'm a rabbit.
Look, the idea of a golden era cartoon being caught up in a murder mystery is WTF. I don't care what you haters gotta say. This is weird. Also, the success of the whole movie is pretty crazy too. I mean, who would have thought? It seemed like such a niche thing at the time, but they just really pulled it off, and everyone fell in love with this movie. It just became a classic. Looks like the only thing Roger Rabbit really killed was the box office records. Ayo. Ugh.
You saved my life. How can I ever repay you?
I've talked about Watership Down before. This movie is just terrifying. It's great, it's a masterpiece, but it's really scary and gory also. The story of a bunch of young rabbits trying to find a new home came out a long time before I thought animation like this even existed. Nowadays we have our Adult Swim, our Love, Death, and Robots. There's gory, dark adult animation, and it's pretty normalized. But this was like back in the Mickey Mouse days, the Disney days, and they really kind of took a risk on this movie. I'm glad they made it. But a certain rabbit, General Woundwort, is just scary. He's unpleasant to look at, he's angry all the time. It's just disturbing. I'm putting it on specifically for the violence of it, especially the dog scene that is now infamous. Something as trivial as a dog getting in a fight with rabbits is terrifying when you see all the blood and the realisticness of it all. It makes me actually hate dogs, which I didn't think was possible. We never see what happens in this fight. I mean, General Woundwort and the dog just charge at each other and it just sort of ends, which I feel like is more fitting. Rabbits are just such cute animals, and even the darker ones on this list look really cute despite being completely evil, but this bunny just looks scary. He just looks like he's been through some shit, homie. And I don't know exactly how to describe it, but the older animation just adds to how scary it is. Animation like this reminds me of Bambi or something, and just seeing it with blood and gore, it's just uncanny. Netflix recently did a recreation of the series, and I feel like now I should find a new audience more than ever. I still have to watch it, but maybe you have, and you should check it out. Also, let me know in the comments if it's good. But if you ever want to watch rabbits getting torn apart by a cartoon dog, you know where to look.
Champion, Levine, when I give the word, we go straight into them.
Enid, OK K.O. So OK K.O. has always been wild and just does whatever it wants. And let's be honest, we all love it for that. And this includes canonically turning the entire cast into animals and never undoing it. And when you heard Enid's name, you might have been like, what the heck? No. But counterpoint, yes. In the episode We Got Fleas, our favorite convenience store heroes are fighting an animal robot and losing pretty badly. They decide to bring out their inner beast by getting bitten by this old werewolf guy who can do that, I guess, because he's cursed. And basically we get the Ben 10 equivalent for furries. And Enid specifically gets turned into a rabbit. So I can talk about it, okay? Okay. But they never get turned back. They just don't. They go back to the old man and they find out that he just can't undo it. And that's just how it stays for the rest of the series, at least until this point. They're occasionally seen wearing creepy human costumes, which is, what's it called? Terrifying. There's even a video, which is actually, I consider, a clear call to the furry community, where K.O. is just putting on his human suit. Very slick, I think, if that's what they're going for. I give them kudos for this decision, I guess. I mean, the commitment to do something so weird and so permanent, I admire them. Changing the canon of the show is something that not a lot of cartoons cartoons ever consider doing. And in most animation, it just resets next episode. Especially something like this. It's not like a character death, they would just turn into animals. But the fact that they stuck with it is just another reason why I love OK K.O. and everyone should be watching it.
It must be because I'm so quick on my feet.
Way before we had minions, we had another evil to deal with, the rabbits. They came from Raymond, which is a video game, but they completely transformed into what I can just call an annoying phenomenon. Getting their own games, merch, and even a cartoon, which means I can technically talk about it. They're literally just blabbering nonsense constantly. It's awful. Everybody hated these guys. They say if you approach the depths of hell and stand on its fiery edge, you can still hear them screaming. During the early 2010s, you could just not escape these things, man. They were everywhere. All they did was scream. They just screamed all the time. They ran in packs and they screamed, and I'm so angry that they ever were a thing, if you cannot tell. Now, I'm not all spiteful. I mean, I get the rabbits were kind of funny, they were quirky, but dude, after a while, they just became so annoying, and they were everywhere. At least for a kid around this time. Going back and listening to them for 1 second would make anybody wonder how they ever made it past one single game, let alone had a successful franchise that still technically spans to this day. Even doing the research for this video, I had a hard time just getting through some clips. All they do is yell. The rabbit hype has more or less died down, leaving them as a bizarre footnote in entertainment history. But we can all think back to a time where rabbits ruled the entertainment world. And I wonder if minions had anything to do with knocking them off that pedestal. I mean, as bad as it sounds, I'll take minions over rabbits any day. But if they ever make a comeback, I'm finally going in my bunker. Cuddles on Happy Tree Friends. Happy Tree Friends alone is a pretty WTF concept. An online cartoon disguised as a fake children's show meant to shock viewers with grotesque violence and over-the-top gore is something that is just really kind of sick and twisted and lovable, and it's definitely found its audience. There's just really nothing else quite like it. And it spawned from the early days of Flash animation, where literally anything happened and anything went. On one end of the spectrum you had Homestar Runner, and then on the other end of the spectrum you had bunnies getting chopped up with gore everywhere. Cuddles specifically is an adorable bunny who's just constantly getting mutilated. And if you might be thinking I'm being overdramatic, let's just read some of the official ways Cuddles has died. Sliced in half by Lumpy's banjo, shredded alive by plane turbine engine, gets crushed by a whale, accidentally skateboards into a small stairway, cutting him into 3 pieces, his legs, his torso, and his lower half of his head, and the higher half of his head. His face slashed off by a rock by Flippy, and then is cut open with a knife and has his intestines pulled out. Is cut in half by a school bus window, dies from massive blood loss when Flippy impales his throat with a straw, dies in an explosion, dies from blood loss, Lumpy removes his IV to perform a magic trick, may have died when Flippy smacks him using Flaky as a weapon, is cut in half by a broken water slide, has his eye pierced by a helium tank, filling his brain with helium, is either killed by a gas leak or dies in an explosion, is impaled through the face by an icicle, is slammed into an ambulance blown up by a helium tank and buried in snow. Oh my god! He's such a cute bunny, he doesn't deserve this. I don't know who actually enjoys watching this bunny be mutilated, it's certainly not me. I can acknowledge this is definitely not one of my favorite things. Happy Tree Friends just isn't my cup of tea. I'd rather be watching Winnie the Pooh with a sweater on and socks in a padded room so I never am in danger ever. I also don't like parties and leaving the house. All of my kitchen utensils are taped with saran wrap so they don't actually hurt anyone. My only friend is my coin collection. So I'm not exactly this show's target audience, but maybe you are, so if this sounds enticing to you, go watch Happy Tree Friends and validate my point that this is pretty WTF.
Let's get our patient to safety.
The Easter Bunny from Fairly Odd Parents. So this is the closest to Easter we're actually getting with this list, guys. Now, the Easter Bunny is a magical creature who gives toys and gifts to children on his very special day. Except for in the world of Fairly Odd Parents, I guess, because in this one, he wants to kill Santa. So Timmy screwed up like he does every episode, and wishes for every day to be Christmas, which of course screwed up everything. How could it not? Leading to all the other magical holiday entities ganging up and finding a way to get rid of Santa, restoring the order. And that's not even the crazy part. The bunny rabbit is just a big, broad-shouldered mafia tough guy. I love it. He's constantly hiding Easter eggs under things throughout the episode when he's talking, which is also just a really funny bit. He's basically like a Godfather character, but the Easter Bunny. They didn't have to make him like so brooding and tough. I mean, he's the Easter Bunny, but I guess that's what makes it so funny. If you thought the Easter Bunny was weird though, the other holidays are even weirder. The April Fool's Day man is just Jerry Seinfeld essentially.
Greenland! It's not green, and there's no land!
What's up with that?
It's pretty out there. Eventually, he just grows really big with all the magic, but he gets stopped by a very diverse group of kids from around the world who fix Timmy's problem for him, because that's what happens all the time. This is the funniest representation of an otherwise very lame holiday creature, and the Easter Bunny in my eyes has always been kind of the creepiest. A giant bunny just sounds scary to me, but they found a way to make him funny and subvert any expectations I've ever had for the Easter Bunny, and that's why I think he deserves number 2 on this list.
You better unwish that wish or he's gonna get an egg where the sun don't shine.
Puddin's Bunny, Billy and Mandy. Of course Billy and Mandy would have the most f***ed up bunny. Are you serious? They have the most screwed up anything in any series, period. Billy and Mandy went to some of the darkest places I've ever seen in animation. Not to mention a show meant to technically air on a children's network. I don't understand how this entire segment was a thing, but let me just explain. So Puddin finds a magical wishing skull, and he wishes for a best friend rabbit to love him forever. And what he gets in return is a demon rabbit who teaches him about tough love by basically killing him. He looks like a normal cute little rabbit, but he has this demon voice. And I swear to God, it's one of the scariest lines I've ever heard, where he asks him if he's ever learned of tough love. We just watch as Puddin tries to avoid getting basically murdered by this rabbit, who demonically tells him how much he loves him while repeatedly assaulting him. Puddin is just such a cute kid too, which makes it even darker and even worse. And the fact that he pretty much dies at the end just kind of puts the nail in this dark coffin. This is definitely one of the darkest things I've ever seen in Billy and Mandy, and it's definitely the darkest thing I've ever seen surrounding an animated rabbit. If you don't think this deserves the number 1 spot for this oddly specific list, then just watch the clip on YouTube and you tell me, cause it's pretty disturbing. I had to take a shower after watching it. I'm afraid to truly love anybody thanks to this clip. And that's why I think Puddin's Bunny is the most WTF bunny in animation.
I forgive you because I love you, and I love you to death.
Well, there you have it, guys. We counted down the top 10 WTF bunnies in cartoons. If you didn't think we could come up with 10, ho 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 ho, you were just proven wrong. So make sure to write a comment thanking me for my work. And remember to not write anything negative ever, because that would be mean. But as always, I do want to know what you guys think. Do you agree with this list? Do you not? Let us know in the comments down below. Do you think there are more WTF bunnies out there that we missed? Do you not agree with the bunny on this list? Do you think I mentioned how hot Lola was too much? I'm starting to think that in retrospect. Or tweet to me at @ItsRetroNemo or the channel at Roundtable Vids. As always, if you want to consider helping out the channel, you can support us on Patreon or become a member of the channel. There you get exclusive access to scripts and avatars. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like and share, and guys, have a great Easter. I'm Retro Nemo, this is a Cartoon Top 10, and I'll see you next time. Peace.